Hi friends, this article is taken from the Hindu newspaper editorial page from 1st of July. This article talks about the cricketing avenues that uh, th- this article talks about that UAE is a preferred avenue for cricketing games, especially from India, and UAE is also called a desert, so like desert place. So Desert home is the article topic. So let's begin. Desert home. India seems to have warmed up to the UAE as a cricketing venue after earlier misgivings. The ICC 2020 World Cup shift from India to the UAE was inevitable following recurrent waves of COVID 19 infections and the logistical difficulties of hosting an event featuring multiple squads. Over the last few weeks, the news first started as a source based whisper before the Board of Control for Cricket in India (BCCI's) top brass. President Saurabh Ganguly and Secretary Jay Shah spoke individually, clearly stating that India would host the championship in UAE. Finally, the International Cricket Council issued a statement declaring that the tournament will be held from October 17 to November 14, with Oman stepping in as a co-host for the qualifiers. Once the BCCI scheduled the remainder of the Indian Premier League in West Asia ahead of the T20 World Cup, it was no surprise that the Premier Championship too would follow suit. With its three grounds in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Sharjah being in close proximity, the UAE cuts out the need for air travel, and teams can adhere to biobubbles in their respective hotels, an essential requirement in these fraught times of a constantly mutating virus. India hosted England earlier this year and the IPL 2 commenced this summer. But the pandemic surge meant that the league had to be suspended while a second wind was sought in and desert sand prior to the T20 World Cup. That for a year India paused its domestic cricket makes it all the more difficult for it to suddenly lend its way to international fixtures at home. Now that the ambivalence has been said, it is interesting to note the emergence of UAE as a popular neutral venue. Fans of a certain vintage would recall past jousts at Sharjah, lit up by the legendary exploits of stars ranging from Javed Miandad to Sachin Tendulkar. And then India stayed away for a while as talk about bookies and off-field corrupt influences surfaced. Meanwhile, terrorism scared Pakistan kept the UAE as its home venue, as nervous rivals refused to land either in Karachi or Lahore. Since then, India has warmed up to the UAE as a cricketing outpost, while Pakistan has found a new visitors willing to pay on its turf. As a second host for the IPL, the UAE has always stepped forward, and India had an instant solution for its T20 World Cup hosting crisis. After winning the inaugural ICC World Cup World T20 in South Africa back in 2007, India has suffered a title drought and there is a case for course correction. But before that, its dual units have to tackle six limited overs contests in Sri Lanka and five tests in England. Thank you.